Three, two, one. Okay, I'm gonna disappear and Brian, take it away.
This is Hiring AI Agents and the Rise of Revenue Orchestration, a series from Outreach and GeekWire Studios exploring how AI agents are becoming full members of the revenue team and how AI powered revenue orchestration is reshaping sales, marketing, partnerships, and finance. I'm your host, Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios, pleased to be joined by Outreach Chief Marketing Officer Holly Simmons. Holly, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. I'm very excited to be here today.
I want to jump right into it. And our first question is a good one that you've been studying really your entire career for. What does content strategy look like? And let's talk particularly in the lens of optimizing for both humans and AI assistants.
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually, that's coming up in a lot of the conversations I'm having today with CMOs, as well as sales leaders. No, okay. Thanks for that question, Brian. This question is actually coming up a lot. I meet with a number of CMOs as part of my job, and a lot of people are still figuring out how to do this and what they need to do within their content strategy. At the end of the day, in order to tackle this, you want to design your content, your strategy for humans, but also for the machines, basically the LLMs. And it might begin to feel like you're doing two different activities, so having like two different websites or two sets of similar content. But really, it's about aligning the two and then meeting the needs of the humans and the LLMs and leveraging what you can get into AI for visibility and for also driving traffic. And I think like just when you come to the website, it's designed in a different way. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
engaging, right? Attractive, brand forward. And they typically have like a higher level content to communicate like an overall value proposition. Whereas when you're going and using an LLM, and we use them every day, you're typically like you're searching for something very specific, and you're looking for more detail in answering that specific question. So, like, does XYZ vendor have SOC 2 compliance?
Mhm.
Or what are the top five products for revenue orchestration, and compare them side by side? I mean, this is what I do a lot of because I involved in buying a lot of MarTech, so that's how I use the LLMs. It's a little more utilitarian, but it can quickly get the information like in the format, that you want. But it means that you have to create your content in different ways. And I can give a couple of examples there too.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how do you do that? Because it's effectively two audiences, but you have one brand voice. How do you bridge that gap and strike that balance between creating two sort of audiences with the same content and the same brand voice?
Yeah, there are a couple of different areas like for opportunity. So, for example, a lot of websites have FAQs. That's excellent because it's a specific question and a specific answer. And so that's really good for LLM pickup. When you create something like a blog, if you might have a blog around the top five solutions in revenue orchestration, you could create that whole thing. That's also another good one to get picked up. So you have to think about how you're creating the content so that it is something that is both good for someone coming to your website, but also good for the LLMs and AI to pick up.
And we used to talk about creating content specifically for SEO. Is it changing how we create content, what content we create, or how often we put out the content? Is it changing our strategy, or is it just sort of think about it differently, focus on what the AI LLMs can pick up?
Yeah, I think you just have to think of both is what it comes down to. So, like the fundamentals are still the same. You have to know your audience, you have to answer the real question, you have to bring third-party validation, credible expertise. Those things are the same, consistent brand and language. But I think when you're creating it for SEO, you're thinking very heavily about keyword placement, and
Hmm.
then customers coming to the site and then kind of perusing or browsing through to see different types of information. It's more like a magazine. It's a little less, it's structured in a different way. When you're creating the content, though, think about how it's going to get picked up. by the LLM. And
Yeah.
again, FAQ is a good example. That's a really solid way to for the LLMs to pick that up. The other thing that becomes really important with the LLMs is the third-party validation. And so, things like PR coverage, analyst
Yeah.
rankings and reports, that actually gives you credibility. And that's where you see a lot of the citations in the LLM. So the more you can ensure that your brand and product and so on are represented through things like earned media and in your analyst relationships and things like that, the higher likelihood that they'll get picked up in an LLM as a credible source. And so that's also really important. So when you're thinking, it's not just the content you create yourself, but also what's going on with others who are talking about you. And that could also be on Reddit as well, because the Reddit is highly leveraged also for kind of that third party input. But you'll see a lot of like the earned media, customer stories. All of those are really important in making sure that you're getting the placing you deserve. So you kind of have to do the two-pronged thinking around. And there are some companies who are doing like a separate sort of machine site. And that's one option. But I think over time, what you'll see is that these things merge together, and we'll have more tools as we move along built into things like the web infrastructure, so that you can
Mhm.
leverage that as part of your creation process.
So, Holly, I want to ask you, we've talked about the strategy, we've talked about what content looks like, we've talked about how to adapt to this new world that we're in. But let's talk about the opportunity here for a moment. Give me an example of one campaign that we really just couldn't have done just even a couple years ago.
Yeah, so it's funny. There are a couple of things that come to mind on that front. So obviously, the whole conversation about AI is now a core component of any integrated campaign.
Mhm.
So if you're not thinking about that as part of your campaign planning process or growth process, that's an important element. It's part of that big picture, along with things like digital marketing, newsletters, events. It needs to be part and parcel to that. The other thing that has popped up a little bit more recently is advertising, another digital channel advertising in like OpenAI has ads now.
Yeah.
So that's another consideration, and it's really much more focused on top winning topic areas, which is very different than more like an SEO keyword kind of thing. And then I look at also how we're using our own product here. There's an opportunity to leverage basically revenue orchestration tools, and in particular, our product on outreach for different kinds of marketing activities and campaigns. And I didn't realize this actually until I started working at the company, and I was using the product, and I said, oh my God, I can use this for a million marketing things. So for example, so one of the biggest things that marketing and sales struggles with is staying aligned on what's going on the marketing front and campaigns, right?
Yeah.
So typically marketing is over here running campaigns and sales doesn't have any visibility. And I hear that, from lots of folks marketers that I speak to. So imagine being able to set up basically a campaign to personalize engagement before an event, and then to also do post-event management, engagement at scale, and to be able to do it for those that you want to reach out to. Think about events, you frequently get a list of
Yep.
companies that are attending and that sort of thing. But you can decide how much you want to automate that with AI and agents, or have a human in the loop. So it depends on what you're doing, but that's like one example. Another one is around doing more of your persona-based marketing. So we sell to sales leaders, we sell to rev ops, we sell to customer success marketing. So imagine being able to do outreach that's very personalized, again, through our product, and you can design a multi-touch process. Again, you can fully automate it with AI, and personalize it and do things like provide leverage intent data. There's a bunch of things that you can do on that front. One other place that we're using it that actually has worked quite well is for our NPS surveys.
Yeah.
And then, typically you have both supporters and detractors. but you can do this full operation to not only request the input, but to also route them through different basically nurtures. So
Okay.
maybe they're a detractor and they need to learn more about data integration or how
Hmm.
to use a product better. Then you can send them to education or adoption and so on. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and I think that's been a game changer for us. I think in our marketing organization, but also our sales teams use it, so they have full visibility to everything that's happening with each of the things that I just mentioned. So maybe they might see that it's a good time to reach out to a
Right.
customer. So it's nice because we can all see the same things, and that also includes our customer success team. So we know collectively what outreach has been happening with the customer, which is also an ongoing kind of marketing challenge because you're doing different campaigns, and sometimes it's hard to see how many times the customer's been touched by the various campaigns. So it's an amazing opportunity, honestly, and there's a lot of flexibility in the AI that you can leverage. So like I said, the personalization for the sales team, they can like this is what you should talk about, prep you for a meeting.
Right.
So there's a lot of flexibility there in how to leverage AI and in a workflow. So not just like one thing, but across like a whole process.
And you mentioned a lot of really great things there, but one of the things that stuck out at me was really being able to tie that net promoter score back to the customer, back to the engagement, and to route them where they need. I think that's something that a lot of organizations are struggling with. We get the marketing out there, they either love it or hate it, and they either connect with us and promote us or detract from us, but we don't necessarily have the opportunity to drive in and say, this is what we need to do to bring that score up for that one customer and not just sort of as an aggregate whole. Let's talk about the strategy for just a minute. How do we bring all of this together and really focus on what CMOs in this landscape should be spending money on and maybe backing up on? Maybe avoid spending money on this or dive deep and invest more in this area. You got a couple examples?
Yeah. So when I started my role at Outreach, we had about 80 something marketing applications. So it was there have been a few things to figure out. I think the biggest thing for us and what we've been focusing on, obviously leveraging our own product for a lot of these opportunities on the marketing side and to bring sales and marketing together. So that's been a big area of focus and really identifying like the best workflows and use cases and how
Mhm.
to leverage it. The second thing is really on the consolidation aspect. And so we have a lot of point solutions, and I think most marketers deal with that on a regular basis. And it can be a little frustrating because you're trying to piece together all these things and increases the amount you have to spend and focus on with respect to integration. So we've really been looking at what we do and how we can consolidate things into a single solution or platform. So that's been a really big one for us. Um, Obviously, some of the more traditional things like intent data, but trying to leverage that in every way we can. So that those are a few of the like just from the standpoint of areas of focus. And then the stop spending money part, that's again, it comes back to consolidation. Do I really need 5 tools or can I do
Yeah.
everything, most of what I need here? Looking more for that like efficiency and better operations. Where can I leverage AI? So we've been spending increasing our investment in AI by using certain types of products like Jasper, for example, for
Yep.
content creation, and AI tools and some of the other package solutions. So we're kind of doing this like build and buy strategy
Mhm.
for everything. And so you do see the money kind of changing or investment a little bit different.
And certainly using your own product to bring it all together and to put it in front of your agents and your fellow team members to be able to really go out there and service the customers, bring those scores up, and provide just more value and be more efficient using the tools that your teams right across the street there, right next door, are even help create and build. Holly, I want to thank you for the time and thank you for joining us. It's been a great conversation. Certainly good to catch up with you, Chief Marketing Officer for Outreach, Holly Simmons. I'm Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, guys, let's going to do about 10 seconds of post roll here, and then I'll hit stop.
Did I get to the points you wanted, Brian? I was trying to.
That was fantastic. That was
Okay.
fantastic. That was great. I
Good
really
tell
liked
everybody
when we
that.
got in.